Hey everybody, morning. Sorry about the slight delay. So the claim by UBS, which is an investment bank, their analysts have been telling some of their top investment clients that NVIDIA potentially has $1 trillion in pipeline orders, especially for data center clients. Fact or crap, right? True or false? So I handily threw it to an AI agent. Hey, let's dig in. Let's find out fact or crap, right? So let's kind of look at what the AI agent outlined. Now, it pulled up the actual income statement from NVIDIA's, Q1 2026 presentation that it just did. It was, under slide number 4, they highlighted that data center revenue is driven by continued Blackwell ramp. It's the fastest that their company has ever done. Now, they have a sharp jump in inference demand from Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, and they're seeing a leap in token generation. Their AI factory deployments, they have 100 NVIDIA-powered AI factories, and they're trying to 2x that year over year. And the number of GPUs powering each factory has also been doubling in the same period. That's pretty big. So they didn't specifically mention any kind of $1 trillion figure. The $40 to $50 billion per gigawatt revenue projection, they didn't really mention that either, that UBS claims. And they didn't really mention a specific timeline for all of these projects that they've got going on that they claimed in their report, in their presentation. So UBS's analyst, the main one, Timothy Arcuri, I think I say that right, he kind of did his calculations by starting with NVIDIA's statement about tens of gigawatts of AI infrastructure, and then conservatively estimated that 20 gigawatts would be, tens of gigawatts, right? Tens of gigawatts, 2 tens is 20. So then you apply NVIDIA's projection of revenue, $40 to $50 billion per gigawatt, calculated on 20 gigawatts. That 20 times 50, you get up to $1 trillion pretty quickly. Now, that's pretty crazy, right? You get in the ballpark pretty quickly, is what I'm saying. So essentially, this could be, plausible right here. And now, is the $40 to $50 billion revenue per gigawatt accurate? Well, as my AI agent dug around, it found several things that gave plausibility to that number across different metrics. And it's been mentioned by NVIDIA several times in private conversations with analysts and other analyst documents that they've put out that this is a claim that NVIDIA sticks by, that they create about $40 to $50 billion of revenue per gigawatt of data center power, if you will. So that's pretty big and bold, and that's a heck of a catalyst for NVIDIA continuing its climb. And then you have other large customers, Tesla buying up hundreds, building their own big data center. And you think about that, like other companies building these giant clusters of GPUs, like, are they able to generate $40 to $50 billion also? So this is a large catalyst for the AI thing to, keep going. Investability, kind of leave that up to you, but this is at least plausible, as they say on Mythbusters. It's not really like just absolute crap. So has a nice potential here for larger upside. Now, in the short term, we'll have to look at the charts and see what we've got. So that opportunity, $1 trillion revenue, it's the AI agent estimated it to be over the next 3 years potentially. So it's not just Next year, $1 trillion revenue. We're looking at that probably coming in over the 3 years, the next 3 years or so. And if we jump over, let me pull up the chart and flip over the thing here. If we pull this up and look, oh, that's cool. My can has a weird, it's blue. That's interesting. My screen is not blue. Anyway, we look at NVIDIA, we jump in. They do have earnings coming up in August. We just went through the earnings and we roll down through here. We've got the revenue at 44 billion in a quarter. I mean, we jumped to annual. They had about 130 billion in 2024. We climbed that up. You split $1 trillion by 3. Could be looking at $300+ billion a year for the next 3 years or so. Maybe 2 years. The AI agent gives it, so that'd be closer to 500 billion. That's a pretty substantial revenue growth from 2024 numbers here. So they've pushed that price to sales back below 20. That's an important place to be. This pushes it back down to the realm of reasonable. If they can keep that revenue growing, you know, they've switched over from just straight selling those GPUs to building their own data centers and then producing that profit by leasing it out. So pretty spicy right there. Pretty spicy. Pretty spicy indeed. I like it. Does it mean they won't pull back first? Shoot, no. Still got risk right here. Still has risk of a pullback. But there's at least plausible reasonable expectation that we could be pushing this to new crazy highs. Now we go look at the other big company. That's, why would I pull this up? Basically been holding the number 1, number 2 spot. Microsoft, we go look at the financials here, jump in, pull it over to annual, and they're still at 245 billion. So they're substantially above, and their price of sales down at 10 right there. So they're pulling in quite a bit more revenue than NVIDIA, but their costs, they have bigger costs of goods sold, COGS here. Then we go check out Apple, the number 3 currently. Look at their revenue, $391 billion with a B. So they're already in that ballpark, creating $1 trillion over 3 years. Getting close to creating $1 trillion over 2 years. But their COGS is a much larger number here. When you look at their COGS, cost of goods sold, that's how much, when you produce revenue, how much does it cost you to produce that revenue right there, cost of goods sold. And then you have operating expenses, just, running your company, and taxes and all the other things that you do, other expenses taken out. That leaves your net revenue down here at 94 billion. Whereas NVIDIA over here, when we look at theirs, their COGS much smaller, but their annual revenue only 72 billion currently. So large upside potential for growing that compared to like Apple and Microsoft here. We're not seeing, Apple and Microsoft both coming in with net income larger than NVIDIA. But the growth potential is where NVIDIA really has that potential strength for the future. And we're seeing it hang out at number 1. So this is, despite my cautionary statements, maybe they're threading the needle on this thing and actually going to pull it out with a solid game plan here. So there you go. Yeah, silver has a nice push higher. One push higher does not necessarily a breakout make. It is pushed above consolidation. It is up here in clear air. This is very critical, though. It's got to maintain that. If we just reject that back down, be very, very careful right there. I'm not sold on it. Gold, not participating at the moment either. Not pushing out. It was up, getting smacked back down just a little bit here in the last few minutes. Look at that. Ooh. In the last 45 minutes, we went from being up here to being down here. So S&P story is we're going to breaking through 6,000. Been beating our head on this level right here for days. Days and days and days. Can we bust through? Or is it going to be like a spike and reverse situation right here? We're awful darn close. Might as well just tap it, right? Might as well just tappy tap, finish this up. Yesterday it was like, last couple of days, feels like after the market opens, it's like watching paint dry. Just not a lot of price action going on. See. I guess before we talk too much trading, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. If you do this thing we do called trading, you might lose money. And just because I've gotten things right in the past doesn't mean I'll ever get it right in the future. This presentation is intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instrument whatsoever. If you desire personal financial advice, hire and consult that financial advisor. That's somebody that can tell you what to do, which is not me. Don't ask me what you should be doing. I'm not an advisor, all right? I'm just a guy that makes some money, do pretty good. Booked a trade out yesterday. Let's see, 3 month. Find my name right here. Jumping down. That's the 3 month profit. All time. Not too shabby. This account had some losses in it. Look at the 1 year, 100% win rate. Average trade, get me $100. Average gain in percent is 92%. Not too shabby. That's the one I booked out yesterday. Almost $200 on Celsius. Competitor for Monster. Right there. 94% gain. Beautiful trade. There you go. 100% win rate. Now, a couple people have been like, well, this number should be well over 5,000 by next week. There's how we've been doing it. Climb, climb, climb. Does your P&L look like this? Or does it look more like stick to something that makes you money? There, right there. If we break down below this consolidation, we're probably coming back to the 15-minute. Jumping into trades. 30 minutes. Below the 15-minute right here. That's basically $100 down from 6,000. The 1 hour down here at 58, so almost $200 down. We've been on a pretty good climb. The 4 hour on down here around 5,700, so $300 down. And the daily hanging out right with the 4 hour. We get below that daily in the 4 hour, probably taking a trip down here to a 618 retrace of this move up on this price action here. That's what we got cooking for the S&P so far. I'll give you my bias for the day toward the end of the broadcast. And looking at the S5TW, hanging out at 53. Hanging out at 69 on the stocks above the 50-day. I do have this log adjusted, so that's why it's kind of skewed a little bit. This one hanging out at 48. Nothing really changed there since yesterday. NQ, no real difference over the ES. We're still kind of hovering, chopping, looking for that final top. This one did spike substantially higher high here. And Yeah. Did come up into that trend line. I was speculating a day or two ago that we may have to retest that downtrend of highs before we get the correction. Look at the Russell is the weaker of the group here. Seeing this actually hit that 30-minute roadmap line. A little bit of chaos here on the 1 hour coming in at 2086. 4 hour coming in at 2059. These are all pretty stacked right on top of each other. And we are still below the daily. This could be a giant roadmap bounce right here where we came down, came back up, hit the roadmap line. We did that back in early May, and we may get an extension lower here. If we get continuation below the 618, we could push this on down into the 1600s right down here. It's upside down roadmap pounder. If you don't know what that is, go check out the homepage on my channel. Link for my homepage, right down underneath me, my logo. Click it, go to the homepage. That video that says my favorite indicator right there. That's the market roadmap indicator. This right here. I give you the code for it for free, 100%. You just have to, code it into your platform. Easy peasy lemon squeezy right there. And I teach you how it works. All in that video. Now, you're somebody that's like, hey, code, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. That's a foreign language. That's okay. For $5, I have a link in the description. You can get the easy button. You just click it, put it right on your chart, right there. Roadmap line. I don't actually have that. I have it coded into a different indicator on this chart, but right here, the market roadmap, that indicator right there. You can see it. Turn it off, turn on. I give you that indicator right there. Alrighty. Oh, look at that. AMG. Love it. Working on something new here. This BTFD, buy the freaking dip. Interesting new little strategy I found. AI helped me build that thing too. It did, I'd say like 80 to 90% of the ridiculous coding, just all the tedious stuff. And then I actually had to put some logic to it because it just couldn't push it past the finish line on actually getting the entries and exits correct. So I put in my little finesse. It's about 10% of the work, maybe 20%, and got it across the finish line. And then back tested it on 4,000 stocks. Came up with 540 of them that perform better than the average bear. And works pretty darn good so far. Still testing it out. If you want a piece of that one, Termite Trading Labs is where it's at. That's where you get all these trades too. Right there. Not too shabby. 1 month number. We're in a little lights. Now on Robinhood, which is where these trades are downloaded every night after I close them from Robinhood and verified that they actually could be placed in the market. I don't know. Not like I can lie on Robinhood trades, but it does verify them and then shares them right here on the platform. So this is all verified by a third party. Not too shabby, but Robinhood says the last month I've been at $3,400 in the last 30 days. Of course, a bunch of that profit is going to be booked out this week. Like I said, it's going to push this number well over 5,000. Should be pretty sweet. I'm kind of proud of that account. Building it for me. People are like, a couple of people are like, oh, why don't you sell that? I'm like, I'm doing that one for me. Like that's, I'm just taking you along on the ride. And if you want daily updates, be a channel member right here on YouTube. Click that join button. Join up. I'll give you daily updates on what I got open right there. So good to see all my channel members too. Like channel members like Andrew and Rob, Lieutenant Colonel Goose, Ivan, Hugh, Don, Jerry, Dan, Craig, Gayton, Diane, Darren, Mark, Mad, Sergio, Scott, Will, Ted, David, Skaggs, good to see you. Don, Cliff, Rongamer, Frank, JB, Joseph, Mary, John, John. My man Sledge, Cap Sledge, good to see you. JB, Aki, Be Like Water. I don't see the general this morning. Must be sleeping in. So gold, still hunting that B wave top. As long as we are below this, highly likely we are going to have a correction. Once we poke above there, it starts calling in question. Do we, was this it on the correction right here? Or, and we have no pullback here. So the nature of the next pullback, very similar to the S&P. Nature of the next pullback for me sets the stage. Are we going potentially down, or is this a correction, 1, 2, 3 wave, and potentially going to break out, similar to silver? So very important on the next correction here. What is the structure? Is this a 5 wave, 5 or 3? Very important. Bitcoin, maybe we got a bottom here. Now, miners have been indicating that potentially we're about to rip those alternate, miners, treasuries, whatever you want to call them. I mean, miners are miners and treasuries are treasuries, but a lot of the miners are converting to treasuries, so it's starting to blur the lines a little bit. Like Mara is positioning themselves to be a treasury over just a miner. Seeing Riot down there with a substantial holding too, about half of Mara. My wheels get turning when I look at these numbers. MicroStrategy hasn't added a substantial chunk in a few days. They're probably about to buy another big chunk. Yeah, I guess a few days, what, 11 days? They haven't really added anything. They do regular buys, so you can see in May they did 1, 2, 3, 4 buys. April they did 1, 2, 3 buys. March they did 3 buys. February they did 2. You see they've really ramped up the game here. They're trying to hit 1 million Bitcoins by the end of 2026. That's their company goal. Yeah, pretty wild. They've been buying at higher prices lately. I guess they were waiting to buy that freaking dip, but sometimes the dip don't happen. It's interesting. These Bitcoin treasuries, I think they're kind of changing the game a little bit. We may not see the same, the halving events may not be as important moving forward as the halving reward gets so much substantially smaller. And then it's just kind of interesting. It depends on how Mara goes with its market cap. If the Bitcoin is worth more than their market cap, somebody could take them over for the Bitcoin. But if the market cap gets to be substantially more than the Bitcoin, probably not a takeover candidate. Yesterday or last time I looked at this, they were running over 100% value of their market cap. Now they're back below 100% today. So we saw that chart coming up pretty good too. Mara trying to break through that daily roadmap line yesterday, pushing, showing a little weakness today, but a pretty good little move up right there. When we were down here, the Bitcoin was worth more than 100% of their market cap. So we've kind of got this floor in here right around 15 bucks a share for their, I don't think it says on here. Yeah. And what's crazy is their cost, when you look at the cost of their Bitcoin, they've mined it all pretty much. I mean, they did buy some. They have some buys down here. They don't really sell much. You know, they mine a bunch. They sell some to cover expenses. They don't really buy any. They did buy some down here. Not a lot, 74. But in general, they just mine it and hold it. So despite them saying that they were going to get into the bond writing thing and, you know, start doing like MicroStrategy, I don't know. That doesn't seem to be what they've done so far. They haven't been buying so far. So Bitcoin per share, you can see it's quite diluted, 0.0001. So you buy a share of Mora, you're essentially buying 0.0001 Bitcoins right now. No. So Bitcoin mining equipment, and this is where it gets to be, you know, people get confused on this. Bitcoin mining equipment is designed to do SHA-256 calculations. It is not general computing power. AI doesn't run on SHA-256, and that's SHA-256, which is it's a hashing algorithm. So application-specific integrated circuits, they bought tons of these application-specific integrated circuits that are just designed to run SHA-256 at trillions of times a second. And what does that get? You know, what does that mean? When you mine a block, this number right here, this hash, is a SHA-256 hash. So what they're trying to do when they mine Bitcoin is guess this number, right? And it has to, when you guess it, it has to authenticate all the transactions that are in this block and hash against it and create this number. And it has to have so many zeros in the front. That's where the difficulty comes in. We're actually running behind schedule here. The difficulty ramped up like I said it would. Now we're running behind schedule, 31 blocks. So the next difficulty adjustment in 8 days will likely make it easier to guess that number. And it's looked at as the number of zeros that have to be in the front. The more zeros that have to be in the front of that number, the more difficult it is to guess the number. This, when you look at it, it's a big, long number. Post it over here. We can look at that. That's how big this number is right here. And this is in bits, so it's 00, these are hexadecimal, which means there's 16 numbers per number. So that's 16 zeros, 16 zeros, 16 zeros, 16 zeros, 16 zeros, 16 zeros, 16 zeros. You get the point. There's 256 bits represented here. The number of zeros in the front is, when they talk about difficulty for mining, it's how many zeros are required in the front. So their equipment is just for calculating this number over and over and over. It doesn't, like, you can't switch it over to doing AI computing. So Bitcoin miners, they have the power infrastructure for AI, but they don't have the computing infrastructure for AI. So unlikely they would just switch over to AI stuff. There's just not a use for SHA-256 to help you do anything in AI. And looking at Ethereum, we're just sitting on top of the roadmap line, not showing any strength or any sign of doing a breakout or a breakdown here. NKD, stuck. This concerns me. If we break down, the US market is going down with this. And this has the potential that was a 1, 2, 3 wave, first wave down, retrace. Says, yeah, is this like an A, a B, and we get the C wave down? That could be very vicious here, flushing out the Japanese stock market, which is, there's no way that the Other global markets are not going to be taken down with this. Could be looking at a C wave flush. First wave down right here. Next move down could take us down in here. So we're around 27. Oddly enough, I've got a target right there. Look at that, baby. So we still have downside potential here, and that could be pretty vicious on global liquidity. Now, if we could break out, we could potentially head on up to 51,000 on the Japanese market. So got to thread the needle if we're going bullish. Otherwise, this potential sitting here on the chart. We have a little baby 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could set this up to do the bigger downside. Dollar pushing on down. Looking for a retest of the lows that we made back here in April. Hunting for it. As far as Mag 7s go, the biggest companies in the world, Apple, still no clarity. Amazon, still no clarity. Still, like, both of these still have that downside potential I've talked about for several days now. If you're new here, I've talked about the potential of this echo down. It's present on Apple, present on Amazon, present on Google, present on Meta. Even though Meta keeps pushing the limits here. Meta could break out, but still has that potential downside. Microsoft, the only one that's different, it already did this echo. Potentially, we're going to push that up to 489, maybe even 500. NVDA, having a lot of trouble here, still has the same pattern. Still sitting there on the chart. Tesla even has it, right? We're coming down into that. We're coming down pretty quick into that roadmap line. This could dip as low as, say, that consolidation right there. This consolidation could dip down to that 280, 286 area if we get below that roadmap line. I do expect the roadmap line to hold, but we may dip down in there. Looks like I'm going to put some shares tomorrow at 320. Okay with me. Let's turn around and sell some upside calls. MDB spiking up into the roadmap line. We did this before, and it led to a bigger downside. Be careful. We can do another downside swing. That echo off the high could be nearing completion, but we didn't make a lower low. So it can't be complete yet, if that's what we're going to do. The move may be down to 100. So these are gainers. Everything that was moving $2 more up in the pre-market, they're on my gainers list. Everything moving $2 more down in the pre-market on my decliners list. We're going to run through these, look for any kind of opportunity that might be set up. 5 below being pretty strong here. ASML still grinding, trying to get through this roadmap line area. We can move away from it. Then maybe come back and back test it. We could set up something much more bullish. Lemonatus, Pharma, Biotech. Gosh, be careful on Biotech. MCTR. Nope. I don't like these charts right here. That's probably coming back to the bottom. IPX. Potential for this to... If we can close above here today, sets up 45 on the potential upside. Visa, target still 376. This has been going since back in April. MasterCard has the same kind of pattern. Looking for that 600 up there. MasterCard, GTLS. I don't like the sideways chop. It's like, sure, you could catch one of these intermediates, but over the last 5 years, I've not been doing anything, just chop. 5 years of chop. AGQ moving up on that silver. Now silver pushing up new highs, but AGQ stalling out right here. Caution. That is a cautionary move for AGQ. VRT. Yeah, bounce off the bottom of the roadmap line. Be careful. JNUG is leveraged. Junior miners. Texas Instruments potentially working on the pop. We do have this big resistance at this prior high. If we can get above that, and we did meet the criteria for going higher, but there is a resistance right here that could reject and cause it to fail. If we can get above that, 234 would be what I'm looking for. And, really this may bounce up, pull back, bounce up, pull back, and then do something like that. And it could take a few months. So this did set up the entry. It did take too long for this to set up the entry for my algorithm to pick it up right here. See, it didn't pick up the entry right here because that took too long for that to play out. It likes faster, has a time criteria there. So this one, because it took longer, may take longer to move on up to the target right there. It's that Korea 3X bull thing that's been showing up the last few days. ALC. You see, like right here, it kicked off that entry and then came up here and promptly retraced. Now this is holding in there right at the 786. As long as we can hold that 786, still likely to get that expansion back higher, but we got to get back through the roadmap line, back through the gap down. It's built up some resistance, so this one might take a little while. So go from the low to the high to the low. Yeah, that measured bounce target puts us right up in the target zone, actually, right there. Beautiful. Beautiful potential there. Just need to actually get it going. Coinbase, just grinding on this 618. If we can actually start moving higher, targets up here, 396, 440, maybe even new all-time highs up here. Somewhere around 600, 800. Go break out above that 425 original high from the IPO. LEU. Back to, I was talking about this yesterday with nuclear energy, a potential fuel producer. It's at the target. Watch for a pullback. PPLT. Physical platinum. Let's see. Let's go look at platinum. Oh, look at that. Beautiful breakouts right there. That's a solid potential right there. PPLT might be. We're finally getting above that 618. This could be setting up for a move up to 130. Be a nice 30% upside potential. Maybe even something bigger. Platinum hasn't moved in a long time. Yeah, Google we already talked about. MU coming back up. If we can get above that 618 and those tops right there, sets this thing up for a potential run to 205. I am long MUU, have been for a while. Sat through all this crap, and now we're getting ready to break out through the downtrend of highs. See if we can stick it. SIL, Silver Miners, nice little clear air break higher. Watch for this to come back down. That's getting to be extensions. Hooks, leveraged hood, WPM, Wheaton. Yeah, nice. GDS, not really doing anything. Just sitting on the roadmap line. AEM, not really breaking out either. Oil, not really doing anything. Barrick, we have a 2150 target on that one. Regular roadmap bounce setup here. PVH, these are the decliners. Usually we find better opportunities here. So this one, that's an upside down roadmap bounce right there. That low, that high, pushing through, could potentially go on down to 56 before we find support. Core weave, like I said, that's probably going to come back down at some point. Watch for this to chop a bit and break down. We'll come back to this area more than likely at some time in the future, whether it's this week, next month, next year, I don't know. It could be 4 or 5 years before we revisit. You can argue with me if you want, that's cool, but typically IPOs come back and revisit the lows. BFB, that's a red flag. Have no indication that's the bottom at this point. That low, that high potential, but I'd be careful. Winnebago, and one of Goose's favorite stocks to keep up with, the RV industry. That's potential for a measured bounce right there. Put us with a target up around 41. That move up, that retrace, yeah. Put us right in the roadmap line. Nice potential, bottom BFA. That thing must be getting crushed, man. Whew. Golly. Ultra silver, ultra short silver, going in the toilet. Watch out on the downside. AGQ was the leveraged long on the upside. Like I said, that was not breaking high yet. Not breaking higher. Not enough candles. Reddit. Well, I'll be dang. Time to sell the leverage RDTL shares. Hitting the roadmap line. So right back here we had a whale by several $1 million in Reddit. I bought RDTL shares just to see. That thing freaking paid out right there. About a 50% gain on that one. Not too shabby. DEO. So can this hold the reversal here? Bounced up, came down, holding at that 618. If we can hold this, sets up a measured bounce reversal. Could rally us back up to 124 area. So we'll have a resistance at that roadmap line. And if we can get that continuation on through, could take us up in here. And then you look at the bigger picture. Move. Yeah. I don't know. This may need a lower low and just reset this whole pattern. We went way deeper than, this is more likely to make a lower low than it is to bounce here at this point. I don't think this is playing out up here. TTC, Toro. We're talking about the struggling stock chart right there. Watch for that 618 retrace. IONX is IONQ's leveraged ticker. Pulling back, might come back to the roadmap line. The one setup I had today, GH. Now it didn't fire off an alert because it's already in the trade from right back here. We did make a high that didn't hit the target for this entry back here. Retraced back to the roadmap line, very common. We did not stop out because we didn't go $1 below the low. It's coming back up, fired the entry again. 55 upside potential. Not too shabby right there. Now, doesn't have any kind of statistical advantage. Nothing down here. So you got to be careful on that one. That one wouldn't be for me. I'm not getting involved in that. All right, bias for the day. And then we'll wrap this baby up. Let's check it out. What we got cooking. Oh, baby. Maybe we hit the wall. Ooh, baby. So 15-minute roadmap line. There's your immediate target. Probably going to come test it. You can go on down to the 5-minute. We're already below it. So 15-minute is the operative. And we could come back up, back test the 5 minute from below, or even the 1 minute from below. Yeah, I want to see that get some continuation. If we don't hold this and we come on down, remember that next level down is like 5,800. That's 59 on the 30 minute, but on the 1 hour, all the way down at 58. So we got 59. There's kind of your levels right there. 59, 58. It all starts with that 15 minute, and the 30 minute, and the 1 hour, and then the 4 hours all the way down at 57. So there's your kind of levels of support. All right. So if we start slicing through them all, we're probably doing the bigger correction. And everybody's just like, you don't know what you're talking about. We're going bullish and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we'll see. Have a great day, everybody. I'll be back same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow morning, 9:15. Do it all again. Check out what's moving, what's shaking, what's moving, shaking, and moving and shaking. Remember, the account you save may be your own, so be careful out there.